Bad Motivators.
Shit, yes.
What's up, guys? Welcome to big episode 300 of the Bad Motivators. Quite possibly and most likely the final episode of the Bad Motivators. I, of course, am Eric Strahlers, and with me, as always, is my excellent co-host, one Mr. Luke Cruiser.
Hey there. For the 300th time. Hey there, son of a bitch.
300 episodes. Now, listen, I want to start out by commenting on just the amount of like well wishes and the outpouring of love that we received from like our friends and the community at large. You know how you hear like these big celebrations like with the Scruffies and with Blue Harvest and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Buddy, it was pretty overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that we got nothing from anybody, not a tweet, not an email, not even a text from one of my friends. And you know what? I asked Henry, what do you think about this? And he said,
ha ha ha. So classic indeed.
Indeed, Henry.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing. So hey guys, thanks. So apparently there's no reason that we should keep making these stupid things, because if nobody gives a damn, why should we keep doing it? You know what I could be doing right now? Pooping. Instead of cutting it off short because I had to hurry up and record. No, I could have still just been taking a dump. No, can't do that. Got to go record the 300th episode of some piece of crap that nobody cares about.
Now you're over here just fucking turtle-headed it for nothing. Fucking ridiculous.
So,
man.
guys, I just want to say thanks for nothing.
Thanks, but
you got anything
thanks.
you want to add to that, Luke?
I'd like to thank everybody for all these years of.
It's pretty heartbreaking, man, when you think about it.
Aren't we encroaching on like 6 years of doing this?
Jesus, it only feels like an eternity. Yeah, something like that. When did we start?
It had to be 2016, right? Or no, was it? No, yeah, it was 2016, I think. I don't know. Time is an illusion.
It is, dude. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Let me look at something. Maybe I can figure this out a while ago. But how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I've had a pretty good week. I got some good stuff for who got what. I will say that much.
Well,
I'll leave it to that. But I do really quick. I want to say on a serious note, being episode 300, I would like to thank everybody who's been listening the whole time in all seriousness. And I would like to thank all the people who, were guests over the years and people who made artwork for us, Chris Hall, Zerxo, all those guys. Like, it was really super cool. And, and honestly, that big thanks to Dallas too. He was here for us a long road on this journey we've been on. And he was there with us for most of this. But, and obviously, man, the biggest thanks to you, man. I've had a great time, like, getting every week coming to do this with you, and I'm glad we're doing it for the 300th time. And we've had, I think we just released like our 200th and like 60th Patreon episode. So
whoa, man,
so we've
that's wild.
So in roughly 5 or 6 years, we're not really sure, we've released about almost 600 episodes of stuff, put it out there, and it's been a great ride. If this indeed is our last ride, it's been a great one.
We'll see.
Oh, and I want to say up on the top, if you I am going to put this on the public YouTube page, this video this week on our 300th anniversary. I'm going to put up for everybody to see. So Eric will put a link in the show description to our YouTube page, and then he will, or else. And
I can't wait to see how much traffic, because you can look on YouTube and see where your traffic was generated. And it will be none of being clicked on from the show description of this, because nobody's going to listen to it. Because if anybody did listen to this show, they would have at least emailed or texted or tweeted at us. Congratulations, Motivators, on the big 300. Good job. I mean, you've been there for us whenever we've celebrated milestones, but you know what? Screw you.
I can't wait to get all the DMs on Wednesday.
I won't get any. Be fine. You know what? That's fine. You know what's funny though is here we go through all this, right? and we get nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about the old motivators when it comes to the podcast, but then good friend of ours, allegedly, Hawes Burkhart, and another good friend of ours, Steve Crothy, streaming on Twitch last week, and I get this little video from my friend Hawes in my DMs, and here is some audio from it. Buckle in.
Speaking of old guys, Struthers texted me on the other day, and he was like, "Hey, I had to work late. Who was the stream guest?"
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's funny.
It's Taylor Swift.
Bro. He might actually kill me. Like, he might show up at my door, bing bong. Oh my God, it's Eric Struthers. He doesn't say a word. He just wraps his fingers.
Pew, pew, pew. It just empties a fucking silence clip in your chest, drops it on the ground, takes the gloves off, and slowly walks back to the car.
Luke Cruiser asked that in chat if this game was on ultra wide.
Cruiser's here. What's up, Luke?
He just missed the Eric Struthers bit.
Yeah.
Unless he was like hanging out and like the hair on the back of his neck stood up, and he was like, "Ugh, I think one of those stoners is doing a bit about my friend." I don't know why that was his character that I came up with.
That just shows you what he really thinks about me.
He's gonna need a redo of the bit.
Oh, we're not redoing, buddy. You can't redo a bit. Huh?
It involved Eric assassinating Hawes. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, okay, so the bit was that Eric found out my special guest on stream was Taylor Swift, and he shows up to my house, knocks on the door, and without a word empties a silence clip in my chest. To me, though, Eric seems like the kind of guy, I don't know that Eric would be the, like, firearms assassin. To me, he seems like the wordlessly rage-filled...
Personal.
I've never been wordless about anything.
Is what he would do to me. Like watching my face turn violet, you're turning violet. You know what I mean? For Willy Wonka.
We're friends, right?
We're friends, right? The last thing I feel is the fucking guitar calloused fingers of Eric Struthers around my neck. That would be Eric Struthers if I had Taylor Swift. I'd wake up in his torture dungeon. Be soldering my nuts and shit.
Hey, man.
That's good. That's good.
At least this comes around, man.
Love that dude. Love that Eric Struthers.
Me too, man.
He's a good sport. He's a good sport. You can tell he's like, come on, man. Can we maybe like table the bits for a little bit?
Never.
Yeah, I know. The bit war is escalating.
I was concerned at one point during the heat of the bits because people plainly love Hawes.
Oh yeah,
and Will, and
especially way more than us.
Those bad motivators are causing trouble. We're gonna put a stop to it, or even Hawes' mom.
Oh yeah, that was the real nail in the coffin right there.
Yeah, and when she broke in. So did I tell you about texting Hawes about Cable Guy?
Yes.
I said, remember when he goes and becomes best friends with the dude's mom? I said, well, Hawes, I'll be seeing you at Christmas. The password is nipple.
Here's the thing though. Hawes, I have a feeling Hawes' mom would love you.
Oh yeah, we would be the two peas in a pod, man.
Oh yeah.
So listen, I'm not gonna lie and tell you I haven't given some consideration to what I would do, and I'm pretty sure that Hawes already knows this. He was getting pretty close to the mark. But I wouldn't be wordless about it. What I would do is I would be all like Samuel Jackson was in Pulp Fiction, and I'd be quoting scripture to him, right?
Yeah.
Except it wouldn't be scripture at all. I would make it sound like it.
Oh, it'd be like your own.
So
fanfic
saith the Lord, upon this day, we are never, ever, ever getting back together. So let it be written. So let it be done. Haters shall hate, hate, hate. Players shall play.
And then you're just screaming, "Learn to swim" by Tool while you're holding them underwater.
You know what I would be doing? I'd be playing that thing that I made of the beginning of what's the Tool song? Is it Schism?
But down, yeah.
But it's his voice doing the bass line. I would be just playing that on repeat over and over and over again. And in case anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, I'll bring that up here in just a little bit, just to bring it on around. But anyway, it's nice. It was nice to be involved in the bit, and it did feel good because last week was bonkers with work, man.
Yeah.
It was pretty wild. And I mean, listen, I'm thankful to have a job that I feel strongly about and am able to I don't know, like throw myself into and want to.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the fact that when it takes a bunch of time, it's like, oh my God. I had to miss the Sith list last week and the whole bit. But yeah, it was wild. So to have to miss the stream and then ask Crothy who the guest was and then have this whole thing come out about it, I'm like, you know what? That's cool, man.
Yeah,
I'll
you know
take
what?
that.
That's pretty good. 300 episode gift right there, though. Pretty good one. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, man.
Yeah.
It really is.
Not one of those voicemails that we all make for our friends. That all the ones that we've made for our friends over the years, sent out to them on their anniversaries.
Well, to be fair,
not one of those.
To be fair, I think for most of those, man, one of their big fans will like solicit a lot of those.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that makes me feel just as bad having said that.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because that means we don't have any. But you know what? That's fine.
Now they also, let's give them some defense, okay? We did kind of say we weren't doing emails anymore after a while.
That is true. But listen, Cruiser.
Okay.
Anytime I send you, say, an email or a text message, my expectation isn't that you read it to your family. I'm sending it to you. Hey, happy birthday, Luke. You son of a bitch. You didn't mention that text message on your show. God, I hate you. Here's that thing of Hawes. Are you ready?
Classic.
Bliddy-dee-doo, dee-doo, bliddy-dee-doo, dee-doo, dee. Bliddy-dee-doo, dee-doo, bliddy-dee-doo, dee-doo, dee. Bliddy-dee-doo,
the sound he hears as he's being strangled to death.
Bliddy-dee-doo, dee-doo, bliddy-dee-doo, dee-doo, dee. 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 Bliddy-dee-doo, dee-doo.
And this is exactly what it'd be like. I wouldn't quit.
Bliddy-dee-doo, dee-doo, bliddy-dee-doo,
Just keep it rolling.
I can't remember how long I let that go. It's still playing right now.
You were so impressed that you're able to match it up so well. You just kept it going.
I was just proud of him for doing it, just scat singing it so well. I had to do very little to it to get it to fit in the pocket like that. So anyway,
yeah,
that's what you'd be hearing. And I would be yelling things like, "You called me up again just to break me like a promise. So casually cruel in the name of being honest." What? It's from a Taylor Swift song, butthole.
You would know if you cared. This is why you gotta die.
I'm surprised she didn't mention it when she was on your show. You know what this reminds me of? All of this.
Yeah.
The 300th episode and nobody coming and telling us they're happy for us or anything. Hawes having Taylor Swift on the stream and not telling me.
Yeah.
It's when I showed up to a Throw the Horns gig and Joe was like, you know how Taylor Swift sent out those signed CDs for Record Store Day? Man, we ended up with like 75 of those. Oh, no kidding. How many did you set aside for me? Face. Oh, dude, I'm sorry. well, plainly, you know I like Taylor Swift, or you wouldn't have been telling me this story. It's like, so what you're telling me is you own a record store. You had 75 of those signed CDs, and you saved me none. That's what I'm understanding. I'd say the writing's on the wall.
God, man, everything is not coming up Struthers right now.
No, it's not. Wait. What'd you say, Henry?
Ha ha ha. So classic indeed.
Thanks, buddy. Oh my gosh. So my kids, I have 2 of them that are just like me. Yeah. This morning, Amanda's to the point where she just brings them to me, tattles on them to me. Yeah. Well, Stella and Henry are doing this and they don't want to wear their winter coats to school, and it was under 32 degrees. Yeah. So I made them. I said, listen, you're going. I tried reasoning with you. Now you're doing it. The end. Amanda tells me that when they got to school, all the kids are getting out of the car at the drop off, and hardly anybody's wearing a coat. And Stella goes, "Oh, look at all the winter coats I see coming out of those cars up there." Good Lord. I was like, God.
Society has made us too soft on these kids, Eric.
Dude, I don't. Well, hey, listen, guys, we're here.
Here we are.
Celebrating this monumental occasion.
Yes.
300 episodes. It's pretty exciting stuff, man. You know, this started out as a Star Wars podcast, and neither one of us like Star Wars anymore. So I'm kidding. We love Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's, you know, it's a good time to be a Star Wars fan, and it's a good time to be a podcast fan. Yeah. And we got these things we like to do, one of which is this joint right here. Oh, yeah. Cruiser, you teased it. Oh. Why don't you tell us what you got?
Well, I should say the thing I got is really cool for me, and it's not Star Wars related, but I think I mentioned on here, but I've been telling you, Eric, that I've been in the process of trying to figure out or map out building a computer, right? And with the way things are now, that means you have to start with the graphics card just so you can figure out what your actual budget is, because a large of it's going to be dependent on the graphics card, and so. Especially recently, right? So forever, like I wasn't even considering it because like the 3090 or the RTX 3090 from NVIDIA was going for like $3,000 at times. They're like during the height of the pandemic, and crypto was like skyrocketing. Everybody was into it, and thank God that's crashing to the ground. But
it's shocking.
Who could have seen?
I know none of us saw it coming.
Yeah. So the cards started to come down a little bit, like back around to what their actual retail value is, which is still very expensive. Like the 3090 Ti, which is the last one that's come out before this 4000 series that just came out, is about I say roughly $1,700 to $1,800 typically. So, but it's like the best you can get besides the 4000 series right now. And luckily, I have a friend, and no, I can't hook anybody else up with this. Just so you know, I have a friend who works in close proximity to things that can like this, and they had a select amount of them, and I was able to get a 3090 Ti for like $899, which is incredibly cheap for what it is and all that stuff. So it completely changed my plan for what I was going to do with my setup and like the things I was going to get to go along with it, you know. But it's pretty exciting because now I get to actually build a PC and like have my overall like streams be better on Twitch, be able to process video better and more efficient. And yeah, I know that's not exciting for everybody, but it's really exciting for me.
It's exciting for me. I'm happy for you, man.
Yeah. No, I didn't mean necessarily you, but I mean, people listening, like freaking tech nerds. That's what we are. As Eric and I do, we like this stuff. That's really, we're into technology. We're into games. We're into that stuff as well as Star Wars. So like, whenever we get some kind of nerdy little toy, we like to talk about it. And that's what it is. started at.
I do like how you immediately shut down the possibility.
Oh yeah,
of you
I'm not
somebody
even.
up.
No. I can't. Because it's not my hookup to give. It's just one of those things,
That's smart, man.
Yeah,
that is smart, because that is just the exact kind of thing that somebody would want you to do.
I would get a message about that before I get a message about Happy 300.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I probably still will.
What's funny is you won't even get the obligatory go ahead and throw in, hey, happy for you, kind of thing. We won't get any of that. Well, gosh, I'm bitter, man.
Hey man, it's all right, but I do meant all the heart things I said earlier, heartfelt things I said earlier about doing the show with you and all that stuff. It's been fun for us, but we're ending it now. See ya. Turn it off, Eric. Wouldn't that be fantastic? That's how the last episode is. We're over now. Fuck you guys. Later.
well, look, man. And honestly, dude, I've had a blast doing this show with you. We've developed a really good friendship, man. I love you. Love Dallas.
Yeah.
This has been a fun show, and I'm mostly kidding. This will be our last episode. Mostly.
Yeah, but that's every week though.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, maybe we'll try something different.
Oh yeah.
Maybe I'll try putting on pants one time when we're doing it. I don't know. Who knows what I'll do.
I would say when this video goes live, I really hope that everybody goes and just at least checks it out and subscribes to our YouTube, because I think there's gonna be some stuff coming there hopefully in the future. So, we're gonna try to, I think, move around a little bit, try some new things, and maybe it includes that, maybe it won't. We'll see. But subscribe anyways and find out.
Yeah. So hey, did you get anything else, man?
You know what I want to say really quick is that I bought that without consulting Rachel, right?
Ooh.
Because it was one of those things that just like happened really fast, But I was a little nervous about telling her, just because that's not because I'm afraid of buying things, just because we're a couple, we are a single entity basically, Rachel and I. So
right,
it's like not telling myself something when I don't tell her that. So which is weird. But so later on that night, we were hanging out, and I said, so I want to tell you, I made a purchase today without, just telling you I was doing it. And she was like, uh-huh. And I said it was for the computer, and I explained this whole thing about how I did with this, but how these are really expensive, and now I got this crazy deal, I had to get it,
It's throwing away money.
Exactly, I had to give her the Eric Strothers argument. And I tell you what, there's one thing Rachel Cruiser loves more than anything in the world, possibly her children, is a good deal. All right, I swear the first place she goes in Target is the end caps. Always. She's like, what's cracking up here? Clearance. 60% off. I'll take that.
Yeah, Amanda's the same way. She likes a good deal.
Yeah,
I keep trying to tell her that my pants are half off, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't care."
No deal.
Yeah, no thanks. She said.
All right, that's all I got. What did you get? Did you get anything besides disappointment?
Unfortunately, no. What I did get, man, is I got my pre-sale code for the Taylor Swift Eras tour. It goes on sale in the morning.
Oh,
so gonna get tickets to go see Taylor Swift. I've never seen her live.
Who are you taking with you?
My cousin Sarah, I think. Yeah, she better come through, man. So here's the best thing. I had to tell my boss, hey, look, I really don't know any other way to just ask you this, because our staff meetings are on Tuesday mornings at 10, and that's when tickets for the Taylor Swift tour are going to go on pre-sale, and I cannot miss that.
Sorry.
His face was just like, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He goes, are you taking Stella? I'm like, no,
this is for Daddy.
Yeah. He goes, well, because one of the things he said, look, man, I get it. I took, so and so and so and so to the Taylor Swift concert when I said, yeah, but this is for me.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen. If your cousin falls through, you can call me up and we can just be two dudes at a Taylor Swift concert amongst the sea of children. Let's do it.
Oh, dude, that'll be something, man. She's not doing a St. Louis date.
Where's it going to be?
Kansas City.
Oh, you got to go a little deeper into Missouri, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's like, because it's a stadium tour, not an arena tour.
Oh, so it's going to Arrowhead?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so she's added dates to where she is doing 3 nights in a row at Soldier Field in Chicago.
It's unbelievable how beyond popular she is. She's such a fucking like icon. You can't, even if you don't like her music, you have to acknowledge that.
Well, here's what's great, man. And listen, I know Taylor Swift isn't everybody's cup of tea, but I want to tell you, this newest album of hers is phenomenal. The writing is amazing. The whole like slant behind it, it's very, very, very good. She is incredibly intelligent. She has, like, her vocal ability has grown so much over the years. It's just pretty tremendous, man. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to it.
I want to ask you a music question, if you don't mind. So is there anything else you want to talk about before?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. That's it.
Well, I was thinking about this because there's been like, I don't know, at least there's been so many different remasters of like the Beatles albums.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, 2010, 2020, let me ask you a question. Like, maybe there's some instances, but do you think that some of those classic albums should just be left the way that like everybody remember, like the way everybody fell in love with them? You know what I mean?
That's a tough one.
Because I have a very specific example, but go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, you know how the vocalization work, like the like double tracking and stuff John Lennon would do on his voice, like it's a very iconic sound. Like he did it a very like specific way, and I think he's one of the few people that really sounds just like it. Really, he took it to a different level, in my opinion. And like, and have you ever heard his cover of "Stand by Me"?
Yes.
Well, it's if you listen to the original album, I think it came out in 1975. It's from his cover album. It's very like visceral sounding because of the dual tracking. Like it sounds way more impassioned. And then like in 2010, they did a remaster, and it's almost like they took some of the dual tracking out of it and like cleaned up the overall sound, and maybe like spread like the sound field out or something, like made it wider to make it more stereo, I guess. And it ruined all the emotion of the song.
That's a tough one, man, because we've talked about like how in video games you've got a remake and a remaster, like they're two different things. So in theory, a remaster is, like I've talked about, the mastering process in recording, where you've got the mix that doesn't get changed, and it comes from like the final mix from the studio, and then it goes to the mastering engineer, who adds a lot of times like a slight overall reverb, compression, some EQ, and will like widen the stereo spread using a thing called an expander. And that's usually what's responsible for like the massive increase in volume, like audio volume, that you'll hear when you listen to like a remastered recording versus a classic recording. So you'll have that difference, but then you also have, like, because of the EQ changes, things that used to be a certain volume will now seem louder.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't understand what EQ does, equalization. And what it is it's a volume control for a narrow frequency, right? With usually like in a hump where there's a center to it that's the loudest or the most added or the most taken away, and then like a gradual thing. So just as an example, in the album that I did with Abby all those years ago, the violin player, there's a really cool episode that I did of That's Metal with her on our Patreon, patreon.com/thanks for nothing. Just kidding. But I talk about how in mastering, the guy that did it, God rest his soul, I didn't kill him. Okay. He died of other causes. He used Trans-Siberian Orchestra's first album as a reference for like EQ and all that. Every bass player I've ever played with for my TSO tributes claim there's no bass guitar in that album because the way it's mastered, there's like no bottom end in it.
So they like Injustice for all of it.
Basically.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. And my buddy Chris, who played bass on that EP, was like, "Oh, thanks a lot."
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I swear. But the thing is, we didn't have time to ask for revisions because we had to submit it to disc makers that day to get rush processing and get those CDs manufactured. And so, yeah, what are you going to do? But so that's the sort of thing that ends up happening is it will sound different because of the EQ variances make it sound sometimes almost like a new mix. But yeah, messing with the stereo spread, a lot of people thought, the Beatles album should have stayed mono.
I agree. Well, if you listen to like, because when I first heard the White Album, right, it was from whenever they first put it on a CD, I imagine. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure that's the mix that you get from the original. But so I fell in love with the sound of that album, and then I listened to, I think it was a 2019 remaster or something like that. Maybe I can't remember, but it wasn't as bad as that John Lennon song, but there's just it loses some of I can't there's just some kind of character that gets taken out that was because they were trying so much to create a certain sound with the equipment they had, right? And I feel like that's an achievement that needs to like stay. And I think that's the only way it can stay is in its original form. Otherwise, you're starting to like add things that weren't necessarily what they had to work with.
Right. Yeah. And again, that's tough too, because like if the artist is involved in it, for example, and it's part of their vision, then that's a little different. But it's also like if you're going to remaster it, don't destroy. Now, mind you, we are not intending for this to apply to Star Wars, but it slowly is coming around to that. Don't destroy the one that people fell in love with.
Yeah.
Because there's a chance that, you've given this gift to the world. It may be exactly how they want it.
Yeah.
I don't know I'm trying to think of a stupid example.
What do you think about like the recent remasters of the Metallica albums? Like their older ones. Did you feel like it was too like maybe that's a little easier because it's those are like it's more thrashy in there. I mean, no, I'm sure there's some things that you could lose, but it was also recorded a lot later than say the White Album. So like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, like sonically, the advancements in recording and that sort of thing that have happened recently compared to the 80s.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of times those records sound a lot better once they're remastered.
Yeah.
The original Master Puppet sounds great. All right.
Yes.
I had the original cassette. I don't think I have it anymore. And the first pressing of the CD and all that. And it sounds very different than the remastered version. The remastered version sounds louder. It sounds punchier, and there's slightly more low end in it. Because a hallmark, a trademark of mastering in that era is there's no bottom end.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons, like when you'd go to a concert and you'd hear that kick drum go in a big arena, it was like, oh my God, you'd never heard anything like it. Well, now they try to master recordings so that they sound like that, or at least similar to it when they can.
Well, not to mention how much different Cliff Burton's bass sounded because of that, right? Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, he had a real nasally bass tone too, because he'd like use that wah cocked forward, and
I mean, yeah, he was definitely using that thing much more like a lead guitar than a bass.
Well, so if for people who aren't aware, like if you take the song "For Whom the Bell Tolls,"
yeah,
and you got that, that's the bass.
yeah,
It's just playing up real high, like in the 12th position.
yeah. I didn't know that forever. I know that forever.
It sounds like a guitar.
Yeah.
But that's tough, man. I mean, it just depends on if it's what the artist wants to do. And when it's just a shameless cash grab, then I don't like that as much. Now, I will say that there is this band called the Outlaws, and I featured this on one of the That's Metal episodes called "We Got It Covered." I think maybe that's what it was, but it's their cover of "Ghost Riders in the Sky."
Okay.
If you're not familiar with that song, it's really good. But you'd hear classic people like Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, and those guys when they were in this band called the Highwaymen, that they do it. It's like yippee-yi-yi, yippee-yi-yi, but the Outlaws version of it, the 96 remaster, sounds like it was made yesterday. It's killer, and it takes this song and turns it into this freaking masterpiece. And it was well done. I'm very glad that thing exists,
Yeah.
But yeah, it really just depends. But that's a good question, because it's always beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think also the White Album for me is like a sticking point, because it's one of the last, like, not one of the last albums were made in mono, but one of the last like truly like epic albums, like, you know, that were completely made in mono. And they just like it, to hear that they tried to change it like when you're used to hearing all of it coming at you exactly at the same time, you know what I mean? Not having it hit both sides of your head, just it all comes forward.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they remaster it, and there's like this little drum kick over here and this little guitar riff over here. Like, what the hell is that? Those belong together.
Right.
It's weird.
Well, yeah, but I mean, part of what that does is try to make it sound like it did to them when they were in the same room recording with each other too. But yeah, it's, I don't know, man. I'm torn on that, because I do like sonic quality.
Yeah.
It's like one of the hallmarks of this podcast is that whilst our content hasn't always been top shelf, the audio production, we try to keep it is pretty good.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that's just my thing. I think that well, here, while we're talking about this, because that does apply to like the special editions of the original trilogy versus the non-special editions, right?
Yeah.
That's such a different mindset.
Oh yeah.
Because George Lucas will tell you, well, this was my vision all along, I just couldn't fulfill it. I get that.
I have no problem with the creator of the thing working on it and remake if he wants to, or remastering or whatever. If Paul McCartney was the one remastering all these Beatles albums, by him, hanging out in the studio doing it, I'd be like, hell yeah, let me hear what that sounds like. You know what I mean?
But then you take something, while we're back to talking to about Taylor Swift now, is that here she, the whole thing with her catalog of the master recordings were an asset of the record label, which is super common. That we're not going to get into that whole conversation. But what she did, in order to like sort of take control of that back, she decided that she was going to re-record all of it,
which is epic.
It's pretty stinking epic, man. That's wild. Now, what she did, with very few exceptions, is tried to deliver an exact replica of the original. So when she redid Red, I mean, it is almost spot on the same. There's a couple of tracks where she sort of took a different approach with it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I mean, she's like got her younger accent back for it and tried to make it as faithful a recreation as possible.
Question about this. So, question in the back here. So does she owns her songs, right?
Correct.
But she doesn't own the master recordings, is what it is.
Correct. So she can perform them all she wants,
Yeah.
but she just couldn't. The record label owned the master recording. So if, for example, a movie, they want to license the song to be in a movie,
Yeah.
right? The person who really gets the money is whoever owns the master recording, because what they're licensing is the song.
Yeah, she's taking that ability away from him now.
Right, because she's like, nah, here, why don't you just get this one that I just redid, and it sounds exactly
like you should
like
just
it.
sold me my masters back, and now you're gonna like what would they did they not think that some like as much as if Taylor Swift is nothing, she's a prolific recording artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you think if you're not gonna sell her masters back or whatever, that if she wants to do her own thing, you think she's not just gonna remake the songs because somebody was smart and made sure she had ownership of her music? You know what I mean?
It just blows my mind because, like, one of the things that the guy behind that said is that looking back now, he would do it differently.
Of course, you fucking
I bet
moron.
you would. But he I appreciate you knowing his name. But it's what it was just so gross that these guys are like, I just bought Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's offensive. And I don't mean because, by God, I love Taylor Swift and blah, blah, blah. But you're like, this is how you treat an artist. You like trap them kind of, and you take, I don't know.
Did they always work? Did she always work with them, or did they come in and buy it recently?
She always worked with them.
Okay.
And it just, but just the way it all worked out, it's a whole saga.
Yeah.
We won't get into
No.
it. Anyhow, you know what we should talk about eventually, at least at some point, is episode 10 of Andor.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Man. Oh man. I cried during that episode.
I definitely felt it in my chest for sure.
Like, I didn't expect to be so invested and sucked into that thing. And like, just when they're escaping, I was like, you did it. I mean, the way they orchestrated that whole thing and the everything about it, the cinematography, the shot composition, the filmic technique, the acting, the directing, the writing, all of it.
The relentlessness of the episode.
Them running through that thing, chanting, one way out, one way out. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Literally, there's only 2 breathers in the entire episode, and they both maybe 3. You can call it the very last one but they all involve Andy Serkis. Like the first one, whenever they're all in the commotion in their bunks talking about what they're gonna do, and he like, nobody's get it out, and then they started, and then that's when it was paused, and then when he gave his epic speech where he incorporated Andor's words as well while he was staring him dead in the eye, and like just the fact that the whole time of the realization, not to whatever, we're not breaking down piece by piece here, but like just the fact that knowing that Kino, from that time they decided to escape, and the one way they had to get out, he knew he wasn't escaping, but he still like he had to know he wasn't escaping, right? Because he can't fucking swim,
right?
But like it's just like that whole I'm sorry to jump around like that, but like it's such a powerful thing, right? And Andy Serkis, I'm so glad he's getting more and more acting roles, like just standard traditional acting roles, because he's fantastic. And you can't do what he's done in the animation, the CGI world, because he's not just doing it, he's acting. You don't get to be able to give believable performances like that if you're not an incredible actor. And I'm glad we get to see his face doing it. And
he was amazing, man.
He was awesome as Alfred in the new Batman movie. Like I just every time I see him on screen, he was awesome in Black Panther. Like I'm so glad he's in this, and I really hope there's some way he's not a goner.
Well, speaking of that, Tony Gilroy in an interview And I'm sorry I don't have it pulled up in front of me. I was too busy crying about everything else I've complained about this episode. But he said that we've always been really direct with letting you know that somebody's dead.
Yeah.
I didn't see him die. Did you see him die?
Yeah.
That's what he said. And so now here's something.
They have been very direct about that, in fairness.
So here's something that I hope is not a thing, obviously. But what I want to say is this. People are like, oh my gosh, it's Kino Loy Snoke. And I don't think so. I hope not. But they made this point of when they walk into that control room and you see the guy talking into the microphone so that the rest of the facility can hear it on the intercom, it's pitch shifted down dramatically from his voice. And so then when he gets on there and starts talking, it sounds suspiciously like Supreme Leader Snoke.
Yeah.
In the rest of the facility. And I felt like they really made a point of making sure you noticed that.
I mean, if we want to go down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole of this, right? In theory, he's getting left behind. He would have valuable information as to what the hell happened, right? And in theory, they could torture him. They may find out through the tortures how maybe he's a little force sensitive or something, and then old Palpy gets wind of him and experiments on him and makes him the freaking creature that is Snoke. I don't know. That's a long stretch and a long road you got to go to make regular looking Andy Serkis look like the freaking weirdo that is Snoke. So
right, but
he have to be mutated. They'd have to be mutated.
Oh yeah. I mean, I hope that's not a thing. I think they just did that to be like,
yeah, the screw with people,
yeah.
which I hope so. I hope that's too. But
because
I'm saying, if
I
that's
will say
the
this,
thing, that's the path that has to go. It has to be really fucking weird and obtuse.
Yeah.
So.
here's the one thing though, is if you'll recall in The Rise of Skywalker, when you see Snoke in that petri or in that jar,
yeah,
he couldn't swim either.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, I was pretty moved by his performance and him not making it out. And when you see at the very end and you only see Andor and Melshi running along that beach.
That was bizarre.
Where's everybody else? Did nobody else out of that entire place make it?
I mean, you could see ships patrolling in the background in the water whenever they were. So I'm hoping they just got the other islands, but you would have thought at least 3 or 4, maybe other people would have went the same direction they did, but it's just them.
Right.
That's like that's crazy to think that they all might have got killed, or maybe at the very least captured again.
Yeah. I liked seeing Luthen's monologue that he gave the spy, and I was a little surprised at who the spy was.
Yes.
They did a good job of not telegraphing that. I thought that the guy had something going, but I didn't know if it was just that he was power hungry or what his deal was. But him being the spy and the way they went about knowing that he wanted to meet, and him going to meet him and giving him the whole, oh, congratulations on your daughter.
Yeah.
And just how dirty that is. But then when he gives him, let me tell you what I had to give up to do this.
Yeah.
My humanity, basically. I've had to do things kind of like what Andor says. I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. Most of us have done things that are unspeakable.
Yeah.
And all in the name of the greater good. And dude, Skarsgård, that guy is an amazing actor.
He also looked really cool on that bridge.
Yeah, he did.
Really cool. He did. He had his like long coat, cape looking thing going in the wind, and he's just like telling him, "You're not getting out of here. You can't.
Yeah,
you're too deep in. What are you going to tell the ISB that you just want to leave? I'm going to say it's my health. They're going to say, who cares?
Yeah. Well, we'll find a way to work around that.
I guess you'll keep working until you die. Then
have you seen Darth Vader?
Yeah.
How you think his health is? Yeah.
They'd be like, "Would you like us to grind up your family?" That's what they would say next. You know what I mean? Some crazy evil shit. I mean, they're literally torturing people with the sound of dying children. So God knows what they're willing to do. So like, whew, man, this show is so intense. It's so intense.
Honestly, I feel like this is the best thing going on TV right now.
It's pretty high up there, man. I mean, if yeah, go ahead.
Did you see that they're going to be showing the first episode of it on FX?
The first two.
The first two?
Yeah.
And
ABC. I think
that's killer.
Yeah, they're put on Hulu, ABC, FX, and I think maybe the family channel they have.
I mean, if there's ever a show that people need to be watching, it's this one.
I mean, I'm just baffled. Is it like are they doing that because they're not getting enough traction to Disney Plus because of it, or because they really feel like they got something good and they want more people to see it? You know,
that's a good question, man. I really don't know. I hate to speculate, but if I were going to guess, I'm not going to try to prove my hypothesis.
Yeah,
but I would say they feel like there needs to be more viewers and they don't have them.
Yeah. I mean that's it, but that's an interesting technique because they own all these networks and stuff now. They're like maybe, but it's kind of smart, and I wonder if they're gonna do that with the Mandalorian as well. Like imagine if they did when the new season of Mandalorian came out, and they had the first episode go across all those networks at the same time. Like the same time, like not the same time, but like the same day, because it would appear early in the morning on Disney Plus, right? But like it could appear but appear at a certain time on all those other things. And like on opening night, I think that'd be cool too.
I'm trying to imagine what kind of impact I think the showing it on those platforms could have on subscriptions and all that. I feel like the show is very, very, very good.
Yeah.
But I really think that if you want to get people sucked into it, you got to get into like 5 episodes deep.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully 2 will be enough. I mean, they'll see Tim get shot. They'll see Bix. Or no, did he get shot in the third one?
I don't remember. I don't know. A lot's happened. It's crazy to think this has been going on for 2.5 months already.
Yeah. They'll show Bix. I mean, that's
2 months, because they would show like what, 3 the first day?
3 the first day, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, man, I have been floored by this, and I genuinely think that this has been my favorite Disney Plus Star Wars series.
It's definitely close for me.
I don't think I would have never predicted that.
No.
In a million years, I would have never predicted that.
If I had to have picked one that would have been the throwaway, it would have been this one. That's what I would imagine would be the one that would have like not been as wanted by everybody or loved by everybody. Just
right.
And there's nothing against Cassian Andor. It's just because he's not Luke Skywalker. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's just he's not Darth Vader. He's not, you know. Mm-hmm. And in the Mandalorian even made sure they got Luke Skywalker in there and shit. So right. I mean, like, I don't know. Did you see Steele was talking about how he's hoping that the show, or at least the showrunners, continue on past where Rogue One went, and they make a show in between A New Hope and Empire.
That's no, I didn't see that.
I think that's what he was saying. Cool. He was saying that but I wonder though if they do that. I think the only way it carries this integrity is if Gilroy stays involved, because if he decides like, no, I'm good, then it would become probably another like, let's see how far we can stretch this deep fake shit. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Because it'd be hard for them not to take that temptation of at least putting Han and Leia and Luke in there somewhere, you know?
Right. Yeah, I think that'd be difficult. And the thing is, it's because of the timeline and what they're addressing, it would be very tempting to have it in there just from a story standpoint, not just from a selling a show standpoint.
But yeah.
So that's a tough one, man. I don't know. So hey, one thing, everybody in this that had like a big scene killed it. I thought between the escape with Andy Serkis's monologue, with Skarsgård's monologue, the scene with Mon Mothma and that gangster guy was so good and so
very
intense.
very underrated scene.
And her thing where she's married to this douchebag, and the guy's like, yeah, a lot of people, blah blah blah, and my son, and me, and your daughter, meh, meh, meh. And the line where she says, he's like, just consider it, and she says, I won't be.
Yeah.
And he says, that's the first thing you've been dishonest about this whole time.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang.
Yeah. The caliber of actors they have in the show is quite incredible, one, but two, the gravitas they all carry. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of like the toughest dudes you know, and also the most powerful people involved in these scenarios, and them just shifting their and pushing their weight around and seeing what happens. And some of them times they get pushed back. And that's what happens. That's what happened with Mothma. She keeps coming into barriers because she's got the squeaky clean image she's trying to keep, and she has to work with quote unquote undesirables to make sure she can work in the background within the empire. And
right,
I'm curious to see at what point that all comes crashing down, where like she can't hide that fact anymore and becomes outcasted.
Yeah, and how intense is that? Like, is she immediately in grave danger? Is she more of just like a pariah?
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know.
It's gotta be. No, I keep imagining a scene where like Skarsgård gets her out. That's what I keep imagining. You know what I mean? Something like that. I keep saying his name, but that's because his name's cooler than his. Luthen's a cool name.
Yeah, Luthen's a cool name, but man, Skarsgård is pretty rad.
Yeah. So like, speaking of Skarsgård, I saw The Northman. It's a movie his son's in. Not the one that played it, the other one. I can't remember his name. But anyways, that movie is something. That's what I'll say. It's as you would say, the violence is really good. But it gets, I don't know, I don't know what I thought it was going to be, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It's a little all over the place. You seen the ads for that show, Northman, the movie? No. Oh. Well, it's interesting. But yeah, those Skarsgårds are prolific actors, and that same son is in the HBO show. Speaking of our buddy Steele, who really likes this show, Succession. He's in the, I think, the third season of that show, and he's very good in that as well. He's a very tall man. Like those Skarsgård, they're all like 6'4", 6'5".
Oh wow.
Yeah, but anyways, to go back to that Skarsgård monologue, wasn't the week before, wasn't the monologue between Luthen and Saul? Wasn't that the week before? Was that episode 9 or episode 8?
I think so. I think that was 9.
Like the way they're closing out these episodes, like just with the epicness. I mean, not only do we get Luthen, but we got that incredible speech from Kino. Like I said, the weight all these characters are hold, and the like the way their words are moving scenes to keep the intensity up in the scene, even when the moment itself isn't necessarily intense at that time.
Right.
Along with the killer music that's going on, like excuse me, it's been a crazy ride. I'm so happy to have my expectations blown away.
Oh yeah, that is one thing, man. I didn't know what to think about any of this.
Yeah,
I honestly kind of wondered if it might be a little bit of a snooze fest. Because, let's face it, the first half of Rogue One, doesn't suck, but it doesn't like I'm never like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to watch the first half of Rogue One. What I can't wait to watch is the second half of Rogue One.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of worried, will it be like that? But man, oh man, just the twists, the turns, just what they've done with the plot, all of everything like converging and separating and converging again in a different way. And I wasn't sad that we didn't get any of Cyril in this one. But
I wasn't bummed at all.
Yeah.
Especially after his episode 9 performance of the creepiest he's been the entire time.
Oh, with Dedra, I was done with him then.
Yeah.
That and he's like telling his mom, "You looked in my special box."
I will say though, and I've been really proud of them for resisting, or whoever resisted not having having Vader or somebody involved in here somewhere, but it's starting to get to that point where like it's becoming a problem that Vader's going to become aware of. You know what I mean? Like all the stuff that's going on, like you failed before the last time moments are happening. You know what I mean?
Right.
People are about to be getting choked out. So I wonder if they're going to resist, how long they're going to be able to resist that involvement, because they're really pushing it to a way where like the attack dog is coming. So like, I don't know.
One of the things, speaking of that, when we talk about like the prison break, and you see the scene where all of those guards are hiding in that room,
they're like,
which you can't blame them. I mean, what are you gonna do? There's nothing you can do. I mean, my first gut reaction was that the cowardice, but it's like, what are they gonna do?
Yeah,
it's like trying to stop the ocean with a bucket.
I mean, they're not an incredibly staffed place. Like there's way more I mean, there's always more prisoners to guards, but like this is exceptionally, because it's not a military base, it's a prison. There's no real military immediate backup, it seems, because they're like, oh, we got you these electrified floors, and deal with that. Much to the chagrin of Eric Strothers, but still, but I like how the whole pipe thing played out, right, with him sawing out that pipe. But like, I like whenever I wonder if it was an accident that the hose started pulling out from the back at first, but they just used it, because I'm like why weren't you just working on that hose in the behind the connect? That would have been a lot easier to get through than that fucking steel pipe.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Well, and you notice that when he's sawing away at it, it's literally leaving 0 marks on the thing. not a mark one. But it was neat to see how, like, the amount of thought that went into systematically how that could work. And people realizing that, listen, this sacrifice, you're gonna die. You're gonna die in here. If you don't try to get out and die, then you're going to die in a prison. They are never gonna let you go. And just the reminder that the people ultimately have the power. And I don't think that they necessarily set out to use that as a commentary on the world, but I think it's a commentary worth remembering regardless, because that's how things have always worked. The people with the will and the desire are the ones that have the power.
No, I would say that's definitely and specifically in the vein of one of the most honest George Lucasisms they did right there, right? Like it was an homage to him, I think, to have that breakout against oppression. I think that's one of George Lucas's favorite tales. I mean, like they made, like, I never saw THX 1138. Like actually I saw bits of it and clips of it and stuff. His first movie, but I feel like that whole prison complex is like an homage to.
Yeah, very much so.
And so to have that, and then have the beaten down and trodden upon to come above the system that their captors said they could not get out of, because they'll get fried, and they found a way to get past them. It speaks a lot, and I think it's more of that subtle George Lucas be one of the people who free people, don't be the oppressor, but and I love how in that speech Andy Serkis or Kino was saying, if a man falls, help them get to the top, find a way, kill if you have to, this is our only chance, one way out, one way out, one way out. It's just the way it built up, Andy Serkis's face staring right into the camera. Perfect. Yeah. And I love his voice.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's the perfect level of accent and is in perfect level
that
of deepness.
Sound he's got, that just
I mean, all kinds of great voices, right? Like I love Diego Luna's voice and like timbre that he has, like he has a certain level of excitement in his voice, right? And then you got Skarsgård, whose voice also incredible, and his stature. And Serkis going in there, he's got one of my favorite voices in Hollywood. I can't explain it. It's just so it's so soothing and alarming at the same time. Like
there's a lot of power in it.
Yeah,
there's just a tremendous amount of power in
he can also yell very well if he has
to.
Like,
that's what makes it so good.
He's got a very good projection, and he's got great projection, but it still keeps that same tone. You know what I mean? Like that same grovel in his voice stays. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I can honestly say, man, in the grand scheme of things in this series, there's no minuses for me.
Yeah, me either.
I mean, there's characters I don't like, but that's because we're not supposed to like them. It's not because they're poorly written or poorly performed. I just don't like them.
That's called making a show.
Yeah. I feel like wondering what's in Cyril's special box. His mom's going to come out and there's going to be a pair of testicles in there. She's like, I found this in your room. Where did you learn to do this? And he'll say, I learned it from you. All right. I learned it from watching you.
He's in there trying to solder him for some reason. Hey, man.
Hey, man. Yeah. Golly. Well, we only have 2 episodes left, and one of them is going to be in 2 days.
Yeah.
Or 0 days for the listener of this. And I can't believe it's already almost over.
Yeah.
And part of me wishes that they would release both of them at the same time, and then the other part of me wishes that they would release the first 5 minutes of it and just keep it going from week to week, because I don't want this to be over. Yeah. I've not wanted other shows to not be over, but not at the level of this. This has sucked me in, and I've been in love with this show.
I agree. I think from a pure storytelling perspective, I think this is in my opinion the best one in the Disney Star Wars like television era for sure, because it doesn't rely on it relies on the actors. It doesn't rely on the big character drop, big name drop. You know what I mean? It's right. I mean, Cassian Andor is an established character, but he's still. He doesn't have the once again, he's not Luke Skywalker, right? So like he can't. So the show's named after him, and he's carrying the show for sure. But like his ensemble is just unmatched comparatively to like the Mandalorian. I think has a really good cast for the most part, right? Like, but it's a different thing, and it for some reason decided to like weighed in a little heavy to the other characters because it's Filoni, you know what I mean? Right. And a lot of the fan favorites, which there's nothing wrong with it. I love those shows. It's just that like this show, that's why I'm glad that it's the first thing that's really sticking with that formula so far. At least first 10 episodes. There's I think Palpatine has been mentioned, maybe. Can't remember.
Yeah. He what's his name from the Clone Wars? Yularen mentioned talking to him.
Yeah, but I mean, that's expected, right? That's the kind of thing. We've not heard Vader. We've like it's. this is very easily could have been something where they just randomly slipped Han Solo in there somewhere they needed to get a smuggler for a run or something, and that could be why he decided he didn't want to mess with the rebellion. You know what I mean? Something like that. Like I'm not saying they still couldn't do that, but I feel like if this was Favreau and Filoni, no offense to them, I love them. I feel like they would have found a way to get one of these legacy characters involved. You know what I mean? They would try to find a way to shoehorn it in somehow just to give that moment, instead of letting because don't get me wrong, I think they did a great job establishing the Mandalorian, right? But he's also on the back of Boba Fett a little bit, so
right. Yeah.
It's he's I mean, he's basically Boba Fett 2.0. He's like Boba Fett, but a little bit nicer.
Yeah. I mean, the iconic look of the armor really had a lot going for it, and that helped carry it out, because that mystique, it was inarguable. The mystique of how he looked and what very little we knew about Boba Fett is what made him so interesting.
Yes. Yeah. Especially to the common person, like not the non-super Star Wars fan, right? Just the casual one who saw the originals or something. Like, I saw that guy look like him in the movies back in the day when I was a youngster. That's appealing. But I hope this show is doing decent numbers, and the reason why they're showing this to a broader audience is because it's doing well on Disney Plus. They're trying to expand it, but I do wonder if they only release the first 2 episodes, will they just piss people off from even giving Disney Plus a try?
I don't know, man. I think if you saw those and you heard a lot of people talking about how great the rest of the show is, I think it's that combination that would push you into it. Speaking of which, man, and everybody else who got into that Disney Plus early backer thing that they did, that renewed. And I was like, well, my $80. But
mine's still somehow free through Verizon. I'm not sure what kind of plan I got myself grandfathered into, but I'm not messing around with it.
Well, good on you, man.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing this news, and it was the anime studio from Japan. Is it Studio Ghibli? Is that how you pronounce it?
I don't know how to. I think so, but I don't want to say for sure.
And they said that there was going to be a collaboration. Then it came out a couple days ago.
Did you watch it?
No, I haven't. Grogu and the Dust Bunnies.
Yeah.
And no, I haven't watched it. I will.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this is all they're doing.
They're probably just making a few cute Star Wars shorts. You know what I mean? Just to throw up on there for the little kids, or for the kids. It's not. It looks awesome. Like that Japanese, the style of that studio is fairly iconic given the things that they've made and stuff and whatnot. So that's why everybody was excited about it. But when it released, and like I heard it was a really short thing, people were like getting mad, expecting it to be some kind of jaw-dropping moment thing. I'm like, they just randomly tweeted about it like the day before the little thing released. Like,
right,
if it was a big deal, it would have been promoted. You know what I mean? Like, heavily.
Yeah. I do think it's cool that Ludwig Göransson did the music for it.
I didn't know that.
And so it says here, I'm reading this on bestmanbulletin.com, good source for what's going on in Star Wars. It says it serves as an entry in the Disney Zen anthology series, which focuses on sounds and visuals from some of Disney's most iconic franchises.
That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll definitely check it out and see. After Andor, what's the next big thing in Star Wars? Is it the Bad Batch? Is that what's next?
Yes. And then the Mandalorian, I believe.
Yeah.
And then Ahsoka, and probably in the summertime.
Have you seen Black Panther yet?
No, and that's not like the movie. I would like to see it, but my desire to go to movie theater is way to hell down. I mentioned that before.
And it's not because of the movie. I don't want to go to the movie theater, and I don't know why. I'm kind of into people are on my nerves right now, sort of thing. And that's shame on me. That's all on me. I've realized like my patience for certain types of things has grown thin.
I feel you, brother.
To my own detriment.
Yeah. Like, yeah. You want? We give you a prime example of that the other day, and I felt terrible the whole time I was sitting there. We went to Sam's Club, right? And there was something about the whole experience, the people, my kids being asses or whatever. But like we got to the parking lot. And you ever have a moment where like every person you see annoys you in some way? Like just they haven't said a word to you, but like for some reason in that moment you feel like their existence is stupid. Like you're just like, why are you in my way? Why are you here? Why is this a thing? Like, and it makes me, I felt so terrible that I felt that way towards other human beings.
Yeah, I mean, just for me, yeah, I'm a Community fan, and if you guys remember the episode where Pierce is helping Shirley on her public speaking technique, and he's talking about filler words, more sounds, like is the sound in dumb. And I was listening to something, and a person was saying literally every 4 words. So I was watching this thing, and I by the end was screaming at my phone, Jesus Christ, are you, oh my God, do you hear yourself?
Yes.
What is wrong with you? Go back and I don't want to feel that way about people, man.
Yeah, no, that was a weird feeling to have. Like I've felt that way before, but I guess I never really paid attention to it. And like this time, I really noticed that like everybody just like them being in the parking lot, and just like I was just like, am I a sociopath? What is this? But I'm not, because I'm usually like a pretty empathetic person. You know what I mean? Like I think overall, like uh um I feel for people. That's why I don't like embarrassing shows. You know what I mean? Where somebody gets embarrassed or gets pranked or something like that. Like it's like I don't like people feeling like they're made a fool. It's not really my favorite thing, you know?
Right.
And so when I have those thoughts for people where everybody, you're all fucking fools, I'm over all your shit. Like I was like, oh man, that's so not who I am.
Right. It's easy to feel that way, though, man. It really is.
Yeah.
But hey, yeah, I mean, I want to see that movie, but I don't foresee going to the theater anytime soon. And I'm just going to tell you right now, my wife has been subbing at the kids' school. The kids and my wife have been getting sick one after the other. Stella was crazy sick over the weekend to the point it kind of freaked me out. She wasn't throwing up or anything like that, but she slept for literally a day.
Yeah.
And I told her, listen, you're going to wake up in the middle of the night and you're going to feel better, and you're not going to be able to fall back asleep because you've been asleep for like 20 hours.
Yeah.
If you want to stay up, you can. Just try to be quiet. And she did. 2:00 in the morning, she finally feels human again. But I mean, she slept overnight, got up, went back to bed, and slept off and on all day. So yeah, I mean, it's wild. And
Leia did that recently. It's very scary.
That's just the time it is right now. And the less enclosed spaces I have to be with people, the better, you know. That's how it is.
It's not that it's not just that, it's just the whole production of it. Like it doesn't appeal to me anymore. I feel bad because it's because movies are an important thing and movie theaters are really important to movies. But like I feel like there's another way that they can go about it, and they should realize that a little bit better now. And I'm sorry that these locations are suffering because of it, but you know, things evolve over time. It's just kind of how it goes.
Right.
But maybe that will make going to a movie more of an event like it used to be, instead of, you know, small towns have like 3 of them. You're like, you know what I mean? Like
right.
It's kind of like I was talking with my buddy Zach about the about how because of the rise of like digital photography with like even on like cameras on phones and stuff, like how much better they are. Like before long they'll have like family portrait templates that you can do that, like they'll like tell you how to all sit and stuff and get the perfect lighting outside. And then that bottom tier of no offense if you're a family photographer, I'm not saying you're bottom tier, but you're not doing like the multi $10,000 jobs for mega corporations that get paid ridiculous amounts of money for photos. So what I'm saying is like that bottom tier of people who do a bunch of jobs for lower amounts of money to make ends meet will start to lose those jobs. And then eventually it'll become a much more of a niche job where people are getting paid a ton of money to take photos because there's not as many photographers anymore. And that'll be the same thing for movies. It'll become much more like an attraction because I think a lot of people after this whole thing are like, you know what? I was fine not going to the movies. I was perfectly okay, you know?
Yeah.
So
I mean, like when I've gone to the theater, I do enjoy it, but it's, you're right. It's blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But
sorry.
No, that's fine, man. That's fine. Well, hey, listen, I think that about does it for episode 300 and for this podcast altogether. So
it's been a good run.
Yep. Yep.
Never missed a week. God damn it.
Nobody's sad about it. So having said all that, you know what? Go check out patreon.com/the bad motivators where you can hear more of this crap. So yeah, I mean, how that's surely appealing to people.
Oh, totally.
And check out our merch on TeePublic and Redbubble. Check out Cruiser streaming on Twitch. I haven't streamed in a while just because my schedule's been so haphazard.
Yeah.
And let me think. What else? Oh, follow the show on Twitter at @bad_motivators if you want. I don't give a crap. And I guess
this has been the best like I hate everything episode 300 ever.
I guess there's really nothing left to say except this. Sweet man. Sweet man. Well, hey, I think Taylor Swift is awesome. And until next week, we are out of here.
Goodbye. The bad motivators 300 times.